Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a quick little knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Maxace Black Mirror, technically the Black Mirror 2 if you look at Maxace's website. And there are very few differences. One, of course, is the inlay material, which is cool. In this case, we have carbon fiber and copper. They do apparently have like a plain one. But I think really the major thing here is the fact that this version comes with CPM S90V steel. Even better, they didn't change the price. So the version you're seeing here, when it's in stock, I'll try and link it down below, but just keep in mind, things like this come in and out of stock. When it's in stock, it's 148 bucks. Now, if you've watched my channel, here within the last couple of years, or I can't remember when I did the original Maxace Black Mirror review, but I said that, when we're considering premium materials, this is dollar for dollar one of the best buys on the internet in the world when it comes to pocket knives. It's a really great design, and it's like 97% perfect for like what the average person is looking for in a really good high quality EDC knife. I'm a huge fan of the Maxace Black Mirror, and what I want to do today is talk about this knife and talk about little teeny tiny changes they could do to turn this from like not just really good, just basically just perfection for the value here. Like I said, I'll link this knife down below. You guys can check it out if you want, along with the original Maxace Black Mirror that comes in M390, which is also great. Whatever version you pick up, it's excellent and highly recommendable. I'll lead off with that. Thanks so much to Maxace for sending this in for me to take a look at. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you want the long version of this review, because again, this is still the same knife, right? You can check out the original Maxace Black Mirror review, but for today's video, we're gonna kind of speed through things. I'm gonna do some general specs, and then we're just gonna go into the main talking points here. So the Maxace Black Mirror might be too small for some people, but I think for the average person, it's gonna be just fine. It's 7.5 inches. Depends on where you measure it, but I would say a 3.35 inch blade with a 3 inch, maybe 3 1/16 cutting edge. Couple of size comparisons here, no reason to do a whole bunch. Up against the Bug Out, up against the Spyderco Para 3, up against the Demco AD 20.5. How about something that's a little less expensive like the Pyrite? I think you kind of get the idea of the size here. How's the action? The action is very, very good. There's plenty of access to the lock bar, and you can open and close it the way you want, including, of course, the reverse flick. For the thumb flick, in my experience, you kind of have to come out, right? But you don't have to do that. You can simply pinch open it. I like to sort of use both fingers here, pinch open it and wheel it around. Disengaging the lock bar is fantastic thanks to this big open area right here. They really did a great job. Action is superb. The D10 is superb. It just feels really, really great. There is something they could do to improve this, and it's cutting this out a little bit more on this side. We have this beautiful access zone right here, right? Now this access zone also allows you additional access to the lock bar, which is raised a bit, but listen, you could still lower that just a little bit because not everybody likes to do the reverse flick. And let me be clear, you don't need to, but a lot of us have been doing it for so long that as soon as we see that oval there, we just know, like that's how we're gonna wanna open it. And as it is, you do have plenty of room to do it, but part of this oval is just cut off right here. And it would make it that much easier to get in there. So I feel like just cutting that down just a little bit would really just be fantastic. Now they're already calling this the Black Mirror 2, so I don't know what you want to call it. If they decided to make a tiny change to it, the 2.5 or whatever, right? Maybe they ignore it completely because the thing does so well anyway that they don't need to make any improvements. But man, that would just be the cherry on top, and honestly, one of the biggest things there. But the action as it sits is very good. Carry profile, this thing is great. I mean, it's not super thick. I'm not even going to do what I normally do. This thing carries really, really well. But one thing that would make it slightly better is the inclusion of a lefty mounting position. The clip, you could, even though it has sort of a banana curvature, it would, I think, be very simple to create a symmetrical clip that probably could just be a little bit shorter. I think a little bit of a shorter clip might be not only better ergonomically, but it might be easier to create one that is symmetrical to go on the other side. And creating a mounting position for on the other side would be pretty easy, cutting out a zone instead of letting the inlay go all the way down, just cutting out a little zone and making a little nested area. I don't think that would pull away too much from the aesthetic lines of this knife, but it would allow lefties to enjoy this. And you know what's funny is as it sits, the access to that opening hole on the left side, as long as I put my finger in exactly the right space on the pocket clip, which is a little bit tricky, but more importantly, the access here is very good for lefties. There's just no option for lefties to carry this. And something that has this great a level of value should be accessible to, you know, the 10% of the population who's left-handed. I think that would be a really, really good idea. Taking apart or disassembling and maintaining this knife is made incredibly simple by the fact that we just have such minimal hardware on this guy. There's a hidden screw underneath, one screw here, and honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if there's something else lipped in here holding the backspacer in, but it doesn't appear that you need to take out any additional screws. Either way, very simple to take apart, and nice large fasteners. T8 everywhere across the board, at least. You know, I'm guessing there, to be honest, because it's been so long since I've reviewed the Maxace Black Mirror. Let's go ahead and check it. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. We are looking at a T8 for the pivot, a T8 for this body screw, and that's a Chicago end, right? Just minimizing it that much further. That's fantastic, right? Why not make it that much easier for left-handed people? Maxace does a lot. If you look at their stuff and how often they pump out knives, I feel like this might be a bigger ask of a different company, but for Maxace, you know, this, I like the idea of taking absolute winners and just tweaking them slightly. Not only to make them a little bit better. I mean, you know, for people who already have this, they're like, oh, if they change it, I feel obligated to buy it again, right? Well, maybe, but it also is just a better thing moving forward for everybody else who felt like maybe they didn't want to pick it up because of one or two elements here that I'm talking about. So anyways, that would make it a little bit better, right? The weight on this guy, I mean, depending on which version you get, they're going to be a little bit different here or there. The weight is coming in at 3.53 ounces, which is almost a perfect 1-to-1 ratio with the blade length, so I don't have a problem with that. The blade stock thickness on this guy is not necessarily, you know, super duper thin, but it's also not super thick either. We have a blade stock thickness of, oh no, you know what? I'm wrong. It's 115 thousandths. It's actually on the thinner side with a nice, fully flat ground sheep's foot blade, which in my opinion is one of the best blade shapes you can get. The tumbled finish looks great on this. I mean, honestly, the whole knife looks cool, and I think it's a good idea to continue to do these, honestly, kind of weird color combinations, right? The gold anno mixed with the copper and black carbon fiber. That's fine. But obviously, they are not, you know, ignoring the idea of doing different variations of it. We have a plain tie version. We've got these. We got ones with some blue anno. I say keep it going. You know, it would be cool if they did different anodized versions of like the plain ones, right? This isn't a knife that I'm going to demand contouring or intricate machining on because the design is so good. And honestly, that would increase the price. I would like them to try to do things that would not alter the price tag, because I think that's one of the best things. It's obviously a very good, maybe a little bit boring, but a very, very good overall EDC design, and the price is unbelievably fair, especially now that you can get the thing in S90V. So, simple finishes, all blue, all bronze, right? Maybe even a black version. That would be really, really cool. But again, specifically, make it accommodating for left-handed people and give us just a little bit, kind of how they did on the Meerkat, a little bit more of a cutout right here, right? I think it also might be kind of cool for people who like thumb studs or like flippers. You might experiment with different versions of it that have different means of deployment. I mean, this isn't an insane ask. If we look at something like the Kaiser Sheepdog, you have every version of that you could possibly imagine, even with three different locking systems: crossbar, button lock or plunge lock, and liner lock. Oh no, I'm sorry, and a frame lock. They have 4 different versions of that knife, right? Also a Chinese OEM. So that might be cool for people who just absolutely, my brother always makes fun of me when I reverse flick a knife. He's like, why do you do that? Like, why do you go out of your way to do something fancy? And I have to explain to him, I'm not. It's not. It's second nature. It's honestly when I look at this knife, like that's the only thing my hand wants to do is deploy it like that. It's the easiest way for me to deploy it, right? So really outside of that, I don't have much else to complain about. I mean, ergonomically, it's great. There's a nice choke up point and plenty of an indicator if your finger gets too far up closer to the edge. I would like to see a little bit of jimping out here, something just to complement that index finger position. I think that would be really great. Blade length is excellent. I love that you can get your index finger up here on the nose of the blade. Really, I mean, there's not much else to complain about here. The backspacer is good. I love that we have a full titanium backspacer and a full milled titanium clip, right? I don't think it would be an absolutely insane idea to include or create mounting positions that are not only accommodating for left-handed people, but also that would accept a wire clip for people who just can't stand milled clips. A good example of a company who does this really well is Kunwu. They send the knife with 2 pocket clips, and Maxace already sends a ton of additional hardware, so this isn't that big of an ask. But a way to mount a milled titanium clip and a wire clip isn't all that crazy. Now, maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, and having them include all of these things would increase the price tag a little bit, but it would be really nice to be able to get a version of this that is truly, you know, accommodating to almost everybody. This is very close to like a, you know, and maybe I'm going a little bit too far for this, but what I refer to as an evergreen knife, where it is just so good and so well priced, right? A couple of tweaks here or there could truly make this thing absolutely legendary. This thing is already very popular because of the price tag, the materials, and the execution, right? So going just a little bit further could push it into that status, at least on this channel, right? I don't know how much weight that carries anywhere else, but those are the things that I think would really make this thing spectacular. Outside of that, I don't know what else they could do to alter this that would not increase the price tag. That's the main thing. Being able to, I mean, seriously, one of the versions of this costs $142. In S90V or M390, whatever your preferences are. I'm going to prefer S90V, but my God, that is crazy. I honestly, I mean, seriously, find me something else that's made out of the same materials, that is executed the same way, and is designed so well, right? If there is anything else, it's scarce. This is an incredible knife, and the fact that they like made another version in S90V is just amazing. Maxace, obviously, you don't work for me. You don't take commands from me. These are all just little requests. If you decide that there's a future for this model and you're going to continue to produce it, consider changing some of these things. And obviously my community will give you feedback down in the comments. They might all tell you that I'm an idiot and not to change anything about it, right? And that's fine. But I would say consider these things because, especially the pocket clip situation, because then you're accommodating for left-handed people, and this is just too good of a model for people to miss out on. Now, if you're not a huge fan of Chinese knives, and I completely get that, but if you don't have a problem with that, then this is one of those knives where you could just buy one knife and be done. It really is that good. The lockup is great. The lock solidity is great. Just the overall execution of this knife is fantastic. I had no idea up until I think somebody else pointed it out. Somebody said, hey, they made an S90V version of the Black Mirror. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me, right? So if they're willing to improve it in teeny tiny ways, why stop there? So that's really all I wanted to say. Like I said, if you want a more in-depth look at this knife and what I really, really love about the design, then check out the original review. But truthfully, this is excellent and extremely recommendable. If you have never purchased a knife over $100, and that's a scary territory for you, this is one of the very best things you could buy. This is one of the best examples you could buy over $100, and it is well worth the price tag. That's going to be it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.